Hope you all are getting your money's worth watching me deal with technical difficulties here. I do offer a triple your money back guarantee. Given that this is free, I'll quadruple your money back. All right, I think we should be good to go. If you're here, let me know in the comments. Okay, I see Barbara. I see Matt. Yeah, it is probably a lot warmer, Matt. A lot warmer. I'm just going to make sure my comments go through here. It feels fantastic. Hey, Seamus, what's going on, my man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Uh-oh, did we lose folks here already? Maybe you guys accidentally dropped off. There's more people in the chat than there are showing on the live, so no big deal. Okay, I think we're live again. If this gets cut off, I'm just going to take this computer into my office. It's a nice day out. I figured I'd do it out here today. So if we get cut off again, I'll come back in live, and we'll just continue from my office. So let me let these comments pop back up here so I can get into the comments and see who's with me. But for those of you who are with me, you can say hello to my little friend here. Just a cute little puppy dog or what? Uh-oh, the other one's going to get jealous right here. This is Coco. Used to be Rex, but goes by Coco now. Hey, Coco. Say hi. Say hi to everybody. Oh, now that's a cute puppy right there. That's worth the price of admission right there. All right, Coco. You're going to be my guard dog on all this real estate that we're picking up? Oh, other dog's getting jealous. Okay, so let me cop a squat here and try to get us going here. Are my comments up? Just go ahead into the office and we'll run the show from. This is about as good as it's going to get without a coach, right? Because I'm giving a lot of content here on how to actually get deals done. I think you can make money doing this. I found when I got coaching early on, going back to the early 90s, it made a huge difference in accelerating the progress. Yeah, you got to invest a little bit of money in coaching, but it pays back thousands of times over the course of your real estate career. And you just don't want to make mistakes. You know, I use this analogy of a roadmap to a GPS. A GPS, you just sit back and chill. There's no anxiety. You put your directions in when you're driving somewhere, and it's like go left, go right. There's the exit. You've arrived. You want that kind of guidance in real estate, particularly now. There are bottlenecks and pitfalls. Excuse me, that people, that a good coach can help you navigate. And without that, you're operating from just a map, and it's going to cause mistakes. And mistakes in real estate can be very, very expensive, either in lost opportunity cost, or if you do things incorrectly, you could actually lose real money or lose real credit. So big advocate for, go ahead, get this education, absorb all this stuff that I'm offering. But if you're not going to get coaching, expect that things are going to go a lot more slowly, and that you might make some very costly mistakes. I can't encourage you more to get a coach. It does not have to be me, so I'm not making just a shameless plug for me. I don't even take everyone in the program, but I am willing to talk to anyone via Zoom and see if it's a good fit, show you what all this would entail, what it could look like for you financially. So if you want to do that, you can set up a Zoom call. I don't know if there's a link on here or not. There should be. But I'm not hard to find. Hit me up on Messenger if you like. Excuse me. Okay. Now, where are we at? Well, we are at week 10, almost halfway through this 21-week program. And what we covered in previous weeks was we covered the overall strategy. It's a strategy that allows you to buy any house from any seller in any market without using any of your own money or any of your own credit. Once you have that strategy, you have to be able to deliver the information that you have in your brain in a compelling manner to the seller. So we use certain scripts that allow you to stay true to the essence of what we're trying to communicate. And we can be, excuse me, I'm sorry for this, guys. we can be somewhat ambivalent to the answers that the seller gives us to our questions, because we can monetize whatever it is they decide to do with their house. But we need to know how to present the alternatives in a way to the seller that helps them understand that they're probably going to get more money if they sell the house to us the way we want to buy it. But the trade-off is they do have to be a little bit patient in getting it. We'll pay them for that patience. We'll pay them monthly until Realtor commissions that can be quite expensive, discounts that buyers ask for, closing costs that almost everybody has to pay unless they deal with us, because oftentimes we'll pay the closing cost for the seller, inspection concessions, the amount of time it takes for that owner-occupant, realtor-represented buyer to get their loan qualified, or maybe it falls through and they got to go do the whole thing again. They're making payments. There's tax prorations. There's utilities, all kinds of expenses that are involved, where they don't have to do that if they just sell it to us, allow us to help them get full price for the house while they exert a little bit of patience that we're paying them for. Not everybody's going to be willing to do that, but if you can communicate that approach to them effectively, excuse me, if you can communicate that approach to them effectively, you'll get deals done. And we talked about that. We talked about what the approach is. So that took us through, and sometimes that's using a virtual assistant or an executive assistant to make, the initial calls to these folks. We talked about your posture, how you roll, what your mojo is. And all right. Don't worry, you're not going to catch COVID or a cold or anything via the internet most of the time. The last time I looked, I can't be transmitted through my microphone from afar. So I am back. I don't know if you all are, but I connected to the Ethernet cable here so that we don't have these issues. It's really something. You pay so much money for internet access and then don't necessarily get the performance. I'll tell you, man, Comcast, Xfinity, Cox Cable leaves a lot to be desired. I don't know how they get away with it, charging all that money and just really iffy service. Okay, y'all are back, so let's jump back in. What I was saying is that the money in real estate is really made in your ability to have a genuine conversation with the seller and have the ability to demonstrate to them that you know what you're talking about, so that they feel comfortable working with you. Now, I talked about how we get to that point. We have to understand what our strategy is. We have to understand what the right approach is to get them into the conversation. And then we have to have the ability to have dialogue with them, which is what we're going to cover over 4 weeks. And this is the second week of objection handling. So you can go back and watch the last week's session if you like. But where we left off is here. The seller understands that what we're trying to do is buy the house from them at full price, absent of real estate commissions, absent of big discounts, absent of them having to pay closing costs, absent of them having to deal with inspection concessions and buyer's loan points and all kinds of last minute stuff that dials down the amount of money they actually get on their house. And we've told them that, look, we'll give you a price for this house and we'll begin making payments on it right away until we pay you off in full. This won't be your problem anymore, okay? And they're going to have questions and they're going to have certain objections that come up. So here's one that comes up often. Now, what I'm giving you here are optimum answers. You aren't going to snake charm people into doing something they're totally uncomfortable with doing. I don't care what kind of silver-tongued devil you are, okay? But these are the best answers to their questions that I've found have had the best reception over many years, many decades actually, 3 decades of doing this. So they'll tell you, I don't know, Joel, you want me to sign over the deed before you cash me off? I think I should probably be a little bit uncomfortable with that. As I'm giving you this objection in your mind, you should be thinking, do I know how to answer this question? And what I tell people, and instead of ad-libbing it, I'm going to kind of go through my script so I can be as true to the script as possible, is I'll let them know that, look, if that's going to keep you up at night, then you can just lease it to me and, give me an option to buy the house during the term of the lease. Most people would rather sell their house, but I'm happy to do either with you. So you tell me, what would you prefer to do? Would you prefer to lease it to me or just go ahead and sell it to me? So when somebody is concerned about transferring the deed before they're paid off in full, you can move into lease option mode and let them know, that's okay, I get it. I'll just rent it from you and you give me an option to buy it during the term of the lease, as long as you're okay taking monthly payments for a period of time. And then our exit strategy will pretty much be the same. We'll do a lease option to our buyer. It's called a sandwich lease because we're in the middle. We have a lease option with our with our seller. We're in the middle, and then we sublease and sub-option to our buyer where we're putting a lower down payment out than we have coming in. That's our first spread. We have a bigger monthly payment coming in than we're putting out to our seller. That's our second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and so on spread. And then we have less money owed to the seller than what's going to be coming into us from our buyer if they cash us out. There's our third spread, so to speak. Okay, so that's the way you would handle that. I'm going to go through these a little bit more quickly since we do have 30 to get through over just a couple more weeks left on the objection handling piece. So what they'll say sometimes to that is, I don't want to transfer that deed until the loan and my equity is entirely paid off. Can you make that happen? Well, sure. We'll just do this as a lease purchase instead. Most people would prefer to sell versus lease, but we could easily do it either way. Now, you do transfer the deed if you sell, but you don't if you lease. The advantage of selling, of course, is that it's done and it makes it easier and it makes it quicker for us to cash you out. So what would you prefer? Would you rather lease it or just go ahead and sell it? So, those objections are fairly, it's redundant, but I'm giving you a couple ways to handle it. Now, I need to get a little bit more light on the scene here because I can't see my paper. Let me flip this up here. That should be a little better. Okay. So the seller knows that you're not going to live in the house, right? They understand that you are putting a buyer in the house, that you're getting qualified for a loan, and that's how you get paid. That's why they get a premium price for the house. So that, if they know that, and I'm an advocate of telling them that actually, if they know that, sometimes it brings up this objection, which you have to be able to handle, which is, well, okay, but what happens if you or your buyer suddenly can't or stops making payments? Then I'm left holding the bag. You cannot be fumbling around when these kinds of questions come up, guys. You got to have these objections pretty much down pat. So what I like to say is something along these lines. Well, that's going to be my problem and not yours. You're always going to be dealing with me. Actually, you won't even be dealing with anyone or anything except collecting monthly until we notify you that we're getting you paid off in full. Because usually I just set up an escrow account that pays you off monthly like clockwork. There's really no landlording duty on your part except to collect and cash the checks that we're giving you. You get paid from us monthly regardless. Now, if my buyer stops paying me, I deal with it and I fix it, not you. And my agreement specifically states that I'm responsible to you. You're dealing with me. You're not dealing with who I put in there. I'm just letting you know what I'm going to be doing with the property so that, we're operating, in full transparency. And then they might say something like, well, what happens if your buyer never gets qualified for the loan at the end of the term? Then what? Now think about that for a second before I answer the question. Couldn't you make a case that could be the best thing that happens to the seller? Because haven't you paid down their loan at your expense, your time, your energy, your resources, and now you've built up equity for them? Possibly if they get the house back because we don't exercise the option, isn't it possible that the house will have appreciated in value? You could make a case that it might be the best thing that happens to them. But if they do hit you with this, what happens if your buyer never gets qualified for the loan at the end of our term? What you might say is, that would really stink for us because that's how and when we get paid. We put quite a lot into ensuring that something like that is going to be very unlikely. But if it was to happen, it's quite possible we just go ahead and pay it off and put someone else in it if needed because we've got all that time and effort into it. But if not, isn't your mortgage balance, won't that have been paid down? And you could just at that point decide to keep having us pay it down or not. It'll be your decision. But either way, your house will be in a better financial position than it is now, and you get to decide what you want to do next. So that's not that's not always going to result in somebody saying, okay, let's go. Enough of the time it does, though, that you can get deals with that approach. Now, other times people aren't going to want to negotiate anything on the phone with you. Hold on, guys. I'm just getting through this. I'm not ill, but just a little bit of I don't know what you call it. It's not a cold, but hay fever, I guess. Okay. So people will say they don't want to negotiate with you on the front end. So they're going to say things like, hey, why don't you come see the house and determine if you like it before we negotiate anything? Now, remember, folks, that's not what we want to do most of the time, because I don't want to spend time going out to somebody's house if I have no chance of buying it. In order for me to determine if I'm going to buy it, they're going to have to answer some questions, not the least of which is whether or not they're willing to take a monthly payment for a period of time until we pay them off in full. If they can't give me some kind of inkling of whether they'll do that or not, I'm not interested in going and seeing the house. I'm not going to be living in the house. So if I can't make a deal on it, what's the point of going over there? Now, if you are a realtor, and I've recommended that you get realtor licenses, then it might be worth it to still go out there because you can talk to them about what you can do as the buyer and you'd prefer to be the buyer. However, if they refuse to sell it to you in a way that makes sense for you to buy it, then they're going to need you to list it for them because they're not going to sell the house by owner to an owner-occupant loan qualified buyer that's not represented by a realtor because realtor services are free to buyers. So I'm not going to go to anybody's house personally until I have a pretty good idea that I have a deal. So what I tell people when they're like, hey, look, yeah, man, if you like the house, come out to the house. I don't want to negotiate anything on the phone, determine if you like it first. What I'll tell people is, that makes complete sense. But my interest in this house, it's not just on how beautiful and lovely it is. Remember, I'm not going to live there. I need more houses because I have too many buyers waiting. They all need a house that can be paid for monthly while I get them qualified for their loan, or a house that can be rented while we get that loan approved. The one that gets you paid off in full, at full price without commissions and discounts and costs. So yeah, I'd love to come see it, but I need to know if we can agree on a monthly payment for a period of time and a price first. And if we can just knock that out, I'll be glad to come look. And if you like me and I like the house, then we'll go ahead and buy it. And you have that conversation to determine who's going to work with you and who isn't, so that you don't spend a whole lot of time sitting in traffic, going out to the house, getting ready to go out to the house, coming back disappointed when you could have just been calling other sellers. There's no shortage of people selling their house. And frankly, if you call enough people, there's no shortage of people willing to do deals the way that we want to do these deals. Okay, I don't care how hot the market is. There's plenty of people who only put 3-5% down on a house and the house hasn't appreciated that much and they can't sell the house where they're going to get any money because not enough equity is in there. They don't even have enough money to pay the realtor the 6% commission plus the closing costs, and all they want is out from under the debt because they got to move. They don't want to wait 3 to 6 months to have that happen when you can do it right away. This happens in every city. I don't care if you're in Austin, Texas, New York, LA, San Diego, or any of the middle America places. Okay, these deals are out here by the thousands, and you just have to go find them. Okay, I'll show you how to do it if you come into the coaching program, or you can follow these videos when we get into lead generation, which is the last several weeks of the program. But like I say, you're going to need some guidance, some help along the way, somebody to help you navigate through the first few deals so that you can begin replicating from a position of strength where you know that you're doing the right things and not cutting corners or missing out on optimizing your deals because you learned from static videos like this, for example. Okay. Now, another one that comes up quite frequently is, and we'll go ahead and stop with this one for today because we've had the internet cut out 3 times. So I got to try to string these videos together here. The seller. So here's what I do. When I talk to them, about, look, I don't need to go out and get a mortgage. I could come in and buy this house for cash. And I'm willing to do that if the price is right. That's why I'm not represented by a realtor. I'm sure you can give me the benefit of a price discount, given that I'm not represented by a realtor. But what I want to ask you is, if I come in, with all cash and just buy this house next week, we don't have to go through any loan committees or anything along those lines. What would be the best price that you could give me? And then they'll say a price. And then I'll say, well, is that the best you can do? And then maybe they go a little lower, and I'll say, well, you're headed in the right direction. What's your next choice? And maybe I get them lower, maybe I don't. But if they're like, no, I wouldn't go any lower than that, or I don't want to negotiate that on the phone, come out, see if you like it, that kind of thing. But if I know that price is higher than what I'm paying cash, I've got them already down on whatever the best price I can get them to for now is, and I'll say, hey, look, you deserve to get every penny of that because, the house is probably worth that from what I've been looking at. It's more than what I'd want to pay in cash for the property, because normally when we put our cash out, we're buying from banks or disinterested entities that will give us a discount. You don't have to do that with your house. So, another alternative would be this. I can give you, I can meet your price as long as it appraises. I can give you full price for this, but you just have to be willing to take monthly payments for a period of time until we pay you off in full. Is that something that you'd be willing to do? And they'll either say yes, no, or maybe to that. If they say yes or maybe, I'll say, okay, well, do you have the house free and clear? And then they might say, no, I owe $300,000 on it. Or they might say, no, there's a mortgage on it, and stop there. And then I'm going to say, well, what's the mortgage balance and what's the payment on it? And then they might get pissy, right? And say, well, why do you need to know my mortgage information? I'm pausing because I want you to think about that. Do you know how to answer that question? You have to know how to answer that question. Otherwise, you won't get the mortgage information, which means you're not going to probably do the deal with them, because we can't structure financing on a deal where we don't understand the financial picture of the house. And you simply explain that to the seller. The way I explain it to the seller goes a little something like this. The mortgage information, it's required for us to close. You want the mortgage paid off, don't you? Now, remember, all title companies, they order a payoff demand. They order a payoff demand before closing so that they can issue title insurance. It's not me trying to invade your privacy or planning to make it public. It's just part of the buying and closing process. So I've got to be able to confirm things like, is there more owed on the house than it's worth? And what has to be paid off out of the new loan that comes in? So, the main thing is, if we're going to structure monthly payments like I'm talking about, I got to make sure that you don't have to come out of pocket at all on this. That's the purpose for this. It's really no big deal. I understand being reluctant in this day and age with that kind of information, but really, we can't move forward without it. And frankly, your house can't be sold without that information. So is it okay for me to ask you to help me help you here? What's the mortgage balance and what's the payment on it, so we can get to moving on structuring this deal and get this thing, and you can have this thing sold? And you take it from there. If they won't give you the information, I don't beg with them or plead with them or press the issue. I'm like, okay, well, if you can't share that, then I'm not going to probably be your buyer on it. But I appreciate your transparency, and I think I can still help you, because the type of buyer that you're looking for is going to be one that is very likely represented by a realtor. And if that's the case, you're going to need representation. And I went through a couple weeks ago what the script is to get those listings if you're a realtor, or if you're not a realtor, to push that potential listing to someone on your team where you can still monetize the deal before you hang up the phone with that seller. So anyway, folks, I apologize for the technical difficulty. I probably shouldn't have tried to use wireless. Could have just gone Ethernet, because this worked out a little bit better. And we'll go through the third set of objections and the fourth set of objections over the next couple of weeks. If you have questions about any of this, drop them in the comments. I'm happy to come in here later and answer them. And look, if you think that you'd like to have a discussion on what this business entails, what it could look like financially for you, and you understand the value of getting personal help through all of your deals, having a long-term relationship that helps you get deals done versus just trying to use videos, it'll be the best investment you've ever made. You'll lose more money not optimizing the deals that you maybe do based on following these videos than what it'll cost you to come into the coaching and ensure that you have your deals optimized, your I's dotted, your T's crossed, and you don't have to have any anxiety over the deal, because I've been doing it for 30 years and know exactly what needs to happen to get these deals done. So if you want that kind of help, that kind of guidance, there's no better value on the market than getting a coach with that kind of experience who can handhold you through these deals. So with that, I'll leave you to have a wonderful weekend. And if there's anything I can do for you in the interim, just hit me up. I'll try to help as much as I can, folks. All right. Peace, love, happiness. Appreciate y'all. Have a great weekend. I'm going to go ahead and sign off.